and the topic is the author means Sri Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami, receives the order of Krishna and Guru. Means he is praying to Guru and Krishna to start the writing of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we are reading the 8th chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is summarized by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrit Prabaha Vasya. In this chapter, the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda are described. And it is also stated that one who commits offense in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra does not achieve love of Godhead, even after chanting for many years. So, Amrit Prabha Vasya Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining that even after many years of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one cannot attain the perfection of Krishna Prem, because one should seriously and sincerely continue to chant the Panchatattva names Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. The Acharyas of our Vaishnava Acharyas who always inspire and instruct us to chant the Panchatattva mantra before starting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When all the Acharyas will bestow their causeless mercy upon a devotee and gradually purify his heart. When he is actually purified, automatically he will experience ecstasy in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Previous to the composition of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur wrote a book called Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. And only those subjects which were not discussed by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur in his Chaitanya Bhagavat have been taken up by Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami to be depicted in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. In his very old age, Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami went to Vrindavan, and by the order of Sri Madan Mohanji, he wrote Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thus we are now able to release its transcendental bliss. Bande Chaitanya Devam Tam Bhagavantam Yadichvaya Prashavam Nartate Chitram Lekarange Jadapiham. So I offer my respects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose desire I have become like a dancing dog and suddenly taking to the writing of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, although I am a fool. So, with the instructions and with the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Panchatattva, Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami is starting the writing of Chaitanya Charitamrita, although he is considering himself very full and servant. Jai Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Chandra, Jai Jai Paramananda, Jai Nityananda, Jai Jai Advaita Acharya Kripamay, Jaya Jaya Gadadhar Pandit Mahashay. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Srivas Thakur and all the other devotees of the Lord. I fall down to offer them respect. I offer their lotus feet. Jai Jai Srivas Adi Jata Bhaktagan Pranata Hayya Bandha Shavara Charan Mukh Kavitta Kareja Shavara Smarane Pangu Giri Lange Handa Deke Taragane. So, this is the verse like Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangur Langayate Girim Yat Krepatamaham Bande Sri Gurudina Tarinam. And it is saying that by remembering the lotus feet of Panchatattva, a dumb man can become a poet, a lame man can cross mountains, and a blind man can see the stars in the sky. So only by the mercy of Panchatattva and Lord and Guru, one can cross the mountain, even if he is a, the lame man. And one can see the stars if he accepts the blessings, he got the blessings of his Guru and Krishna, if he is a blind man. So in Vaishnava philosophy, there are three ways of perfection, namely sadhana siddha, who perfection attained by executing devotional service according to the rules and regulations, nitva siddha, eternal perfection attained by never forgetting Krishna at any time. So one is sadhana siddha, one is nitya siddha, and another is kripa siddha. Kripa siddha means perfection attained by the mercy of the spiritual master. Although the person may be not perfect in the service and sadhana, but he has the blessings. He has the blessings of spiritual master and Vaishnavas and Acharyas. So that devotee is specifically called Kripa Siddha, perfection by the mercy of superior authorities. This mercy does not depend on the qualification of a devotee. Yes. So by such mercy, even if a devotee is dumb, he can speak of right to glorify our Lord splendidly. Even if lame, he can cross mountains, and even if blind, he can see the stars in the sky. So that is considering about blessings. So Kripa Siddha. Kripa Siddha means I personally don't have any capacity and qualifications to serve, and I don't have any sincerity and seriousness also, but I have the blessings of my Guru. I have the blessings of the spiritual masters, acharyas, Vaishnavas, and the superior authorities. That's why our principle is to follow the authority, follow the Vaishnava, and follow the instructions of Guru and Krishna. So that's what the thing we should follow the authority principles. এই সব না মানে যেই পণ্ডিত সকল তা সবার বিদ্যাপাঠ বেগ কোলাহল. The education cultivated by so-called learned scholars who do not believe these statements of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is like the tumultuous croaking of frogs. So education cultivates so-called learned scholar, Pandit. এই সব না মানে যেই পণ্ডিত সকল. There are, everywhere Panditas are there, scholarly persons are there who never try to believe in devotional ecstasy and the devotional, statements and the Shastra. But Srila Prabhupada explaining in the purport, the croaking of the frogs in the rainy season resounds very loudly in the forest, with the result that snakes, hearing the croaking in the darkness, approach the frogs and swallow them. So frog, when got caught, when he opened his mouth and he, sounds in the rainy season specifically, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that loudly croaking by frog, and that particular sound when reached to snake, the snake came and swallowed the, frog. So এই সব না মানে যেবা করে কৃষ্ণ ভক্তি কৃষ্ণ কৃপা নাহি তারে নাহি তার গতি. One who does not accept the glories of Panchatattva but still makes a show of devotional service to Krishna can never achieve the mercy of Krishna or advance to the ultimate goal. So Panchatattva blessings and mercy of Panchatattva is most important to advancing in our devotional service. To connect with the Krishna, connect with the Radha Madhava, Panchatattva, Nrsimhadev. So it is very important to have blessings of Panchatattva and to prayers to the lotus feet of Sri Panchatattva. If one is seriously interested in Krishna consciousness activities, he must be ready to follow the rules and regulations laid down by acharyas. And he must understand their conclusions. The Shastra says, Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam Mahajanojana Gatah Shapanta. From Mahabharata, it is very difficult to understand the secret of Krishna consciousness. But one who advances by the instructions of the previous acharyas and follows in the footsteps of his predecessors in the line of discipline succession will have success. Others will not. Srila Narottamdas Thakur says in this connection, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistar Paya Chekeva. Unless one serves the spiritual master and acharyas, one cannot be liberated. Elsewhere he says, Eichai Goshai Jar Mai Tardash Tansabar Padarenu Mor Panchagrash. I simply accept a person who follows in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis, and the dust of such a person lotus feet in my food. So that is telling about the blessings and Vaishnav Seva, the importance of connecting with Shastra, Guru and Vaishnavas, and how much it is important in our life to connect the blessings of Vaishnava. When we have the Vaishnava blessings, we will definitely cross the the impediments and can connect with the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Purve jaiche Jarasandha Adi Rajagan Veda Dharma Kari Kare Vishnu Pujan. Formerly, kings like Jarasandha, the father-in-law of Kamsa, strictly followed the Vedic rituals, thus worshipping Lord Vishnu. So, the following the rituals, even it is common for the demoniac persons. Like Jarasandha also follow the Vedic principles from the Vedas. Krishna nahi mane tate daitya kari mani, Chaitanya na manile taiche daitya tare mani. So Jarasandha follows the principles of Shastra from Vedas. Even we see Ravana, Kamsa, and there are many big ferocious demons. They also follow the Shastra, follow the Vedic, follow the Vedas. But they don't accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's why they are demon. That's why they are non-devotee. The same way, when we does not accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna, the same Supreme Lord is also to be considered a demon. The Jarasandha, Kamsa, Ravana, all they did not accept Ramachandra Bhagavan and Krishna as God, as Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even they studied Shastra, even they follow the principles of Vedas, still they considered as demon because they did not accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Lordhead. And that's the way, if we do not accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Person, same way we will be considered as demon. Formerly, there were a king like Jarasandha who strictly followed the Vedic rituals, acted as charitable, competent Kshatriyas, possessed all the Kshatriyas' qualities, and were even obedient to be the Brahmanical culture, but who did not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jarasandha attacked Krishna many times, and each time, of course, he was defeated like Jarasandha. Any man who performs Vedic rituals but does not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered as Ashura or demon. Similarly, one who does not accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna himself is also a demon. This is the conclusion of authoritative scripture. Therefore, both so-called devotion to Gaur Sundara without devotional service to Krishna and so-called Krishna Bhakti without devotional service to Gaur Sundar are non-devotional activities. So, if someone is considered that I am a bhakta, I am a devotee, I am always following the principles and rules and regulations, and he does not accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaur Sundar as Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will be considered as demon, as Ashura. A very important point it is for Gaudiya Vaishnava and for all the devotees. Morena manile shab luka habe nash iti late ke pardo Prabhu karila sannash. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught, unless people accept me, they will all be destroyed. Thus the merciful Lord accepted the sannyas order. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. Why? Because he wanted to distribute his unconditional blessings, the mercy to everyone. And that is why Kriparda Karila Prabhu Sannyas. Thus the merciful Lord accepted sannyas order. Why? Unless people accepted me, they will be destroyed. So compassion to Hisham, show the compassion and mercy to all the fallen souls. Mahaprabhu took sannyas. Then Nimai Pandit took sannyas and then became Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.51, it is said, Kirtanad eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Lord Krishna's name, one is liberated and goes back home, back to Godhead. And we can see the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam also, the very last words, it is said, the Nama Samkirtana Yasha Sarva Papa Pranashanam. And it is mentioned in the Brihan Naradiya Paran also, Harir Namaiva, Harir Namaiva, Harir Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nastiyava, 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 Gatiranyata. So, in Kali Yuga, the only dharma, the only principle of became a devotee, only principle to surrender Krishna and accept Krishna is to chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and participate the Samkirtan. Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Braja. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra or Lord Krishna's name, one is liberated and goes back home, back to Godhead. This Krishna consciousness must be achieved through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One cannot be complete in Krishna consciousness unless he accepts Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates as the only means for success. It is because of this consideration that the Lord accepted sannyas. For these people would offer him respect and very quickly come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Since Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, inaugurated the Krishna consciousness movement. So, Krishna consciousness movement means ISKCON, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, who distributes the entire world. So, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that our Krishna consciousness movement actually started by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without his mercy, one cannot be elevated to the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness. So, if one is willing to reach the platform of Krishna consciousness, he has to be maintain the mercy and to surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sannyasi Buddha Mure Karive Namaskar Tatapi Khandive Dukkha. Paivenista. So it is a mercy to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is special blessings that Mahaprabhu is thinking, if I take sannyas, then the people, the person offer obeisances to me even due to accepting me only as an ordinary sannyasi. Just to respect me, to accept me as Lord or as a sannyasi, his material distress will diminish and he will ultimately get liberations. So how merciful Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Krishna is so merciful that he always thinks of how to liberate the conditioned souls from the material platform. It is for this reason that Krishna incarnates as clearly indicated in the Bhagavad Gita. Yada deyahi dharmasya glyanir bhavati bharata abhutyanam adharmasya tadatmanam srejamyaham. This is from Bhagavad Gita 4.7. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of e-religion, at many times I descend myself. Krishna always protects the living entities in many ways. He comes himself, he sends his own confidential devotees, and he leaves behind him shastras like the Bhagavad Gita. Why? It is so that people may take advantage of the benediction to be liberated from the clutches of Maya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas so that even a foolish person who accepted him as an ordinary sannyasi would offer him respect, for this would help diminish his material distress and ultimately liberate him from the material clutches. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati points out in this connection that Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combined form of Sri Radha and Krishna. Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya, Radha, Krishna, Nahe, Anya. Therefore, when fools considered Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an ordinary human being and thus treated him disrespectfully, the merciful Lord, in order to deliver these offenders, accepted sannyas so that they could offer him obeisances. Accepting him as a sannyasi, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas to bestow his great mercy on people in general who cannot appreciate him as Radha and Krishna themselves. So Mahaprabhu took sannyas to give the shelter and to bestow his transcendental and unconditional love and blessings to all the fallen conditioned souls in this material world. That's why he took sannyas, because at the time when people in general only respect to the sannyasi, even he is a Mayavadi sannyasi or not a Vaishnava sannyasi, still he would get respect because he is a sannyasi. So nowadays it changed. Nowadays cricketer, footballer, sport person, Bollywood persons, they get respect. So one time jokingly His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj is saying that if Mahaprabhu would come this era, this time, definitely in India he would come as a cricketer. Nowadays, 33 crores of Devi Devatas and 11 more Devatas from the sport industry, cricket in India. So Maharaj jokingly said that, just remembering that. कृपामय चैतन्य नाव जय जय जन सर्वोत्तम हईल अवतारे असुरे गणन. One who does not show respect unto this merciful Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or does not worship him should be considered as a demon, and if he is very much exalted as human society. So we can see it so many areas, and it is very common in this material world that people are considered as themselves very scholarly person, very pandit, very exalted, and yes, human. But it will be considered as human when he will be surrender to the Lord, surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. Sarvattam hailo tare ashure ganan. If he is an exalted man, exalted human, still he will be considered as Ashura because he is not a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. अतएव पुनः कह ऊर्ध्वबाहु हैया चैतन्य नित्यानंद भज कुतर्क चढ़िया. Therefore I say again, lifting my arms, O fellow human beings, please worship Sri Chaitanya Nityananda without false arguments. Kutarka chhadiya. So please accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu as Lord and surrendered. So how surrendered? Urdhva bahuvaya. Raise your hands and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That is the only process of surrender. And please avoid all the false arguments. Why is he saying? The Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami is, because a person who performs Krishna Bhakti but does not understand Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda will simply waste his time. The author Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami requests everyone to take the worship of Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu and the Panchatattva. He assures everyone that any person who does so will be successful in Krishna consciousness. यदि बात तार्किक कहे तर्क से प्रमाण तर्क शास्त्रे सिद्ध जेई शेई सेव्यमान. So logician says, unless one gains understanding through logic and argument, how can one decide upon a worshipable deity? Wow. And Sri Krishna Chaitanya daya karah vichar karile chitte pave chamatkar. So if you want to get the magic, the miracle, what you have to do, if you are indeed interested in logic and arguments, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it the strikingly wonderful. So, vichar karile chitte pave chamatkar. बहु जन्म करे यदि श्रवण कीर्तन तबु तना पाए कृष्ण पादे पे मदन. So if one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many births, he will not get the love of Godhead. And that is the ultimate goal for this chanting. So, बहु जन्म करे यदि श्रवण कीर्तन तबु तो ना पाए कृष्ण प्रेमधन. So this is very important shloka for us, those who are practicing chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. So if we infected the 10 offenses while doing chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, so you will not get the love of God at that, even the ultimate goal of chanting, even after many births. Q? Because our chanting is added with the offenses. So what is the solution? To pray Mahaprabhu, to pray Panchatattva before chanting, and try to avoid all the offenses, 10 offenses given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that we should follow strictly. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says in this connection that although one may go on chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for many years, there is no possibility of attaining the platform of devotional service unless one accepts Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One must follow strictly the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given in the Shikshashtakam. Trinad aupi sunichena tararope shahishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya swadahari. One should chant the holy name of Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the strong in the strict. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense or false prestige, and one should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. One who follows this direction, being freed from the 10 kinds of offenses, becomes successful in Krishna consciousness and ultimately reaches the platform of loving service to the personality of Godhead. Jnanatah Shulabha Muktir Bhuktir Jagyadi Punyatya Swayam Sadhana Sahasrair Hari Bhakti Sudurlava. By cultivating philosophical knowledge, one can understand a spiritual position and thus be liberated. And by performing sacrifices and pious activities, one can achieve sense gratification in a higher plenary system. But the devotional service of God is so rare that even by executing hundreds and thousands of such sacrifices, one cannot obtain it. So Prahlad Maharaj instructs in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30, Matirna Krishne Parato Satova Mito Abhipadyet Griha Vratanam. And 32 is Naisham Matis Tvabad Uru Kramangiram Grim Sprashti Anartha Apagama Yad Artha Mahirvasham Pada Raja Vishekam Nishkinchanam Na Brinita Yavat. These slokas are to be considered, discussed. Their purport is that one cannot obtain Krishna Bhakti or the devotional service of the Lord by official execution of the Vedic ritual. One has to approach a pure devotee. Narottam Das Thakur sings, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistarpaya Chikeva. One who has been elevated without rendering service to a pure devotee, pure Vaishnava. It is the statement of Prahlad Maharaj that unless one is able to accept the dust from the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnava, there is no possibility of achieving the platform of devotional service, that is secret. And the above mentioned Tantra Uvacha, Tantra Vachana quoted from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, it is our perfect guidance in this connection. Krishna Jadi Chote Bhakte Bhakti Mukti Diya Kabu Krishna Bhakti Naden Rakanalu Kaya. If a devotee wants liberation or material sense gratification from the Lord, Krishna immediately delivers it. But pure devotional service is hidden. So if anyone wants Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami, then Krishna immediately gives while you pray to him, while you are chanting his holy names. But Krishna does not give the pure devotional service, that he keeps hidden, because there is a Rajan Patir Guru Lam Bhavatam Yadunam Daivam Priya Kulapatiko Chakkara Kinkaravam Aste Manga Bhagavan Bhajatam Makanda Muktim Dadati Karichit Smana Bhakti Yogam. The great sage Narada said, My dear Maharaj Yudhishthir, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is always ready to help you. He is your master, Guru, God, very dear friend, and head of your family. Yet sometime he agrees to act as your servant of order carrier. You are greatly fortunate because this relationship is possible only by Bhakti Yoga. The Lord can give liberation very easily, but it does not very easily give one bhakti yoga, because that process is bound to the devotees. So this sloka is from Srimad Bhagavatam 5:6-18. हेन प्रेम श्री चैतन्य दिला जोता तथा जगाई मादाई पर्यंत अन्यर का कथा. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has freely given this love of Krishna everywhere and anywhere, even to the most fallen such as Jagai and Madai. What then to speak of those who are already pious and elevated? नष्टप्रायेषु अवद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतं सेवये भागवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति भवेति नैष्टिके तजा रजस्तम भाव कामलोभदयश्चजे चेतयेतैरनाभिद्यं स्थितं सत्य प्रसिद्धति. Considering the chaotic condition of human society, if one actually wants peace and tranquility, one must take to the Krishna consciousness movement and engage always in Bhagavata Dharma. Engagement in Bhagavata Dharma dissipates all ignorance and passion. And when ignorance and passion are dissipated, one is freed from greed and lust. Shatantra Ishwar Prem Nigur Bhandar Bilailo Jare Tare Nakoilo Bichar. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, is fully independent. Therefore, although it is the most confidentially stored benediction, he can distribute love of Godhead to anyone and everyone without consideration. Adhyapyo dekho Chaitanya naam jailai Krishna preme pulakashru vivvalshe hai. Whether he is offensive or inoffensive anyone, we even now chant Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda is immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy and tears fill his eyes. So for a preacher, it is important to introduce Panchatattva and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda to everyone, because if someone is offensive and unoffensive, or if someone is devotee or a non-devotee or whatever, he should engage in the service and engage in the names of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, and by that only immediately get the ecstasy, Krishna Prem. Nityananda balite hai Krishna Premadai Aulai Shakalanga Vasruganga Bhai. So by the simply by the taking of Nityananda Prabhu, one awakens his love for Krishna, and thus all his bodily limbs are agitated by ecstasy and tears flow from his eyes like the water of the Ganges. So Krishna naam kare aparadher vichar, Krishna balile aparadhir na hoy vikar. So there are offenses to be considered while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, simply by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, one does not become ecstatic. It is very beneficial to chant the names Hare Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda before chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because by chanting these two holy names, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, one immediately becomes ecstatic, and if he then chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he becomes free from offenses. So, before a couple of shloka, we read Bahujannama kare jadi sravana kirtan tatapi na pai Krishna premadan. So if someone chants or hear Krishna and chants and glories about Krishna, even after birth he cannot get the attain the Krishna consciousness because of the offense, 10 offenses of holy names. But Srila Prabhupada is sharing the secret here that before chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one has to be added the Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda with the holy names. So before chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we should pray to Mahaprabhu and Panchatattva to bless us to chant and able to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Tadashmaram hridayam vatedam yadgridhamayam harinamay devai no vikriyetadya vikaro netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. If one's heart does not changes, tears do not flow from his eyes, his body does not shiver, and his bodily hairs do not stand on end. As he chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it should be understood that his heart eat as iron. This is due to his offense at the lotus feet of the Lord's holy name. Bapre. So, see, if we read the Bhagavat, if we do the Hare Krishna Mahamantra with offense, so we won't be experience this bodily shiver, bodily hair on standing on the end, and tears flow from eyes. So these things never happened to me, and I don't know. So I do the offensive chanting. It is very proved here. So we should pray to Pancha Tattva more and more, more and more. So that's how we'll be able to remove. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur commenting on this verse, which is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, remarks that sometimes a Mahabhagavat or very advanced devotee does not manifest such transcendental symptoms as tears in the eyes, whereas sometimes a Kshanishta Adhikari, a neophyte devotee, displays them artificially. So this does not mean, however, that the neophyte is more advanced than the Mahabhagavata devotee. The test of the real change of heart that takes place when one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, in that one becomes detached from material enjoyment. This is the real change. Bhaktir Parishana Bhava Viraktir Anyatracha, Bhagavatam 11:42. If one is actually advancing in spiritual life, he must become very much detached from material enjoyment. If it is sometimes found that a Kanishta Adhikari shows artificial tears in his eyes while chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but is still completely attached to material thing, his heart has not really changed. This change must be manifested in terms of one's real activities. Krishna Nam Kare Sarva Papanash, Premer Karan Bhakti Karen Prakash. Simply by chanting one Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offense vanquishes all sinful activities. Thus, pure devotional service, which is the cause of love of God, had become manifest. Ek Krishna Nam Kare Sarva Papanash. Simply, if we chant without offense one Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Kare Sarva Papanash. प्रेमेर कारण भक्ति करे न प्रकाश. सो भक्ति प्रकाश होने का कारण क्या है? ओनली रीजन बिहाइंड इट टू गिव द प्रेम, गिव द लव ऑफ एक्सटेसी टू एवरीवन. दैट्स व्हाई चैतन्य महाप्रभु स्टार्टेड दिस मिशन ऑफ कृष्ण कॉन्शियसनेस. प्रेमेर उदय है प्रेमेर विकार, श्वेत कंप पुलकादि गद गदाश्रुधार. So when one's transcendental loving service to the Lord is actually awakened, it generates transformation in the body such as perspiration, trembling, throbbing of the heart, filtering of the voice, and tears in the eyes. Anayashe bhavakhay Krishna Rishabhan, ek Krishna namer phale, payatadan. As a result of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one makes such great advancement in spiritual life that simultaneously his material existence terminates and he receives love of Godhead. And the holy name of Krishna is so powerful that by chanting even one name, one very easily achieves these transcendental riches. Heno Krishna Nam Jadi Loy Bahubar, Tabu Jadi Prem Nahe Nahe Asrudar. তবে জানি অপরাধ তাহাতে প্রচুর, Krishna naam bijta hai na kare ankur. If one chants the exalted holy name of the Lord again and yet his love for the Supreme Lord does not develop, and tears do not appear in his eyes, it is evident that because of his offenses in chanting, the seed of the holy name of Krishna does not sprout. चैतन्य नित्यानंदे नहीं ये सब विचार नाम लैते प्रेम देन बहे वस्रुदार. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu do not consider this. They only, see that if we are doing Hare Krishna Mahamantra or not. As soon as he chants Hare Krishna Mantra, he feels the ecstasy of love of God. Because Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda quickly cleansed all the offenses simply by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra in prayers to them. स्वतंत्र ईश्वर प्रभु अत्यंत उदार तारे ना बोजिले कबू ना होय निस्तार. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the independent supreme personality of Godhead, is greatly magnanimous. Unless one worships him, one can never be liberated. अरे मुड़ा लोक सुना चैतन्य मंगल चैतन्य महिमा जाते जानी बेशकल. O fools, just read Chaitanya Mangal. By reading this book, you can understand all the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, Chaitanya Bhagavat was originally entitled Sri Chaitanya Mangal. But when Lochan Das Thakur later wrote another book named Sri Chaitanya Mangal, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur changed the name of his own book, which is now therefore known as Chaitanya Bhagavat. So Vrindavan Das Thakur, then initially his book was Chaitanya Mangal, but later he changed the title as Chaitanya Bhagavat. And Chaitanya Mangal, which is available, that is by Lochan Das Thakur, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is by Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami. The life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very elaborately described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami has already informed us that in his Chaitanya Charitamrita he has described whatever Vrindavan Thakur has not mentioned. So, whatever mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat, that is not included in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because it is Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami already discussed in this before, mentioned that Chaitanya Bhagavat is a separate pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is separate. This acceptance of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami indicates his acceptance of the disciplic succession. A writer of transcendental literature never tries to surpass the previous acharyas. So this is very important for us. Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kohe Vedavyas Chaitanya Lila Vash Vrindavana Das. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, as Vyasadeva has compiled all the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, Thakur Vrindavan Das has depicted the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Thakur Vrindavan Das has composed Sri Chaitanya Mangal, hearing the book annihilates all misfortune. Vrindavan Das Kaila Chaitanya Mangal, Jahar Shravane Nashe Sarva Amangal. Chaitanya Nitar Jate Jani Mahima, Jate Jani Krishna Bhakti Siddhanta Shima. So by reading Sri Chaitanya Mangal, one can understand all the glories and truths of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda and come to the ultimate conclusion of devotional service to Lord Krishna. ভাগবতে যত ভক্তি সিদ্ধান্তের সার লিখিয়াছে নিহা জানি করিয়া. So, in Sri Chaitanya Mangal, later known as Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has given the conclusion and essence of devotional service by quoting the authoritative statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mangal Shune Pashundi Jaban সেই মহাবৈষ্ণব হয় ততক্ষণ। Even a great atheist hears Sri Chaitanya Mangal, he immediately becomes a great devotee. Just by hearing Chaitanya Mangal, he immediately becomes the devotee. Manushya rachite nare oiche grantadanna Vrindavan das mukhe bhakta Sri Chaitanya. So such auspicious scripture of Chaitanya Mangal cannot write. The subject matter of this book is so sublime that it appears that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally spoken through the writings of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur. So here is a shloka Srila Prabhupada referred from Hari Bhakti Bilash by Srila Sanatana Goswami. Avaishnava Mukad Girinam Putam Hari Katamritam Sravanam Naiva Kartabyam Swarpa Uchishtam Yatapayaha. One should not hear anything about Krishna from a non-Vaishnava. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. Similarly, talks about Krishna given by a non-Vaishnava are also poisonous. Transcendental literature that very strictly follows the Vedic principles and the conclusion of the Puranas and Pancharatrika Vidhi can be written only by a pure devotee. It is not possible for a common man to write books on bhakti, for his writings will not be effective. He may be a very great scholar and may be expert in presenting literature in flowery language, but this is not at all helpful in understanding transcendental literature. Even if transcendental literature is written in faulty language, it is acceptable if it is written by a devotee. Whereas so-called transcendental literature written by a mundane scholar, even if it is very highly polished literature, presentation cannot be accepted. The secret in a devotee is writing in that when he writes about the pastimes of Lord, the Lord helps him. He does not write alone. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upashantite. So Mahaprabhu directly, writing through the Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vrindavan Das pade koti namaskar, oiche grantha karite ho tarila sangsar. So I offer my millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vrindavan Das Thakur. No one else could write such a wonderful book for the deliverance of all. Tar garbe janmila Sridas Vrindavan. So Narayani Devi eternally eats the remnants of the food of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was born of her womb. So in text 43 of the Gaur Ganadhish Deepika, a book written by Kavi Karnapur that describes all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who they previously were. There is the following statement regarding Narayani. Ambikaya Swasayashin Namna Srila Kilimbika Krishna Chishtam Prabhu Yagna Swam Narayani Mata. When Lord Krishna was a child, he was nursed by a woman named Ambika, who had a younger sister named Kilimbika. During the time of Lord Chaitanya's incarnation, the same Kilimbika used to eat the remnants of food left by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Kilimbika was Narayani, who was the niece of Srivas Thakur's. Later on, when she grew up and married, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was born from her womb. A devotee of Lord Sri Krishna is celebrated in terms of devotional service rendered to the Lord. Thus we know Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur as the son of Narayani. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur does notes in this connection that there is no reference to his paternal ancestry because there is no need of to understand it. तार की अद्भुत चैतन्य चरित वर्णन Jahar Sravane Shuddha Kaila Tribhuvan. What a wonderful description he has given to the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Anyone in the three worlds who hears it is purified. अतएव भजलोक चैतन्य नित्यानंद खंडिवे संसार दुख पावे प्रेमानंद. I fervently appeal to everyone to adopt the method of devotional service given by Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda and thus be freed from the miseries of material existence and ultimately achieve the loving service of the God. Vrindavan dash kaila Chaitanya mangal tahate Chaitanya lila varnila shakal. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has written Sri Chaitanya Mangal and therein described in all respects the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shutra kari shab lila karila grantan pache bistariya tahar kaila vivaran. So he first summarized all the pastimes of the Lord and later described them vividly in detail. Chaitanya Chandra lila ananta apar varnite varnite grantha haila vistar. But the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are so unlimited and unfathomable. Therefore, in describing all those pastimes, the book became voluminous. So initially it was not voluminous. Initially he was just summarized the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. But when was he starting writing and writing, it is going anant apar. It is unlimited and unfathomable. বিস্তার দেখিয়া কিছু সংকোচ হইল মন সূত্র ধৃত কোন লীলা না কইলা বর্ণন. So he saw them to be so extensive that he later felt that some had not been properly described. Nityananda Lila Varnan he ecstatically described the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, but the later pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained untold. Shei Shab Lilar Shunite Bibaran Vrindavana Vashi Bhaktir Utkantitaman. The devotees of Vrindavan were all very anxious to hear those pastimes. So Vrindavane Kalpadrame Suvarna Shadan Mahayuga Pittaha Ratna Singhasan. In Vrindavan, in a great place of pilgrimage underneath the desired trees, is a golden throne bed-checked with jewel. তাতে বসি আছে সদা ব্রজেন্দ্র নন্দন শ্রী গোবিন্দ দেব নামে সাক্ষাৎ মদন. On that throne sits the son of Nanda Maharaj, Sri Govind Dev, the transcendental Cupid. রাজ সেবা হয় তাহা বিচিত্র প্রকার দিব্য সামগ্রী দিব্য বস্ত্র অলঙ্কার. Varieties of majestic service are rendered to Govind there. His garments, ornaments and paraphernalia are all transcendental. Sahasra Shevak Sheba Kore Anukkan Sahasra Badane Sheba Najaya Varnan. In that temple of Govindji, thousands of servitors always render service to the Lord in devotion. Even with thousands of mouths, one could not describe this service. Shevaradhaka Sri Pandit Haridas Tar Jasho Gun Sarva Jagate Prakash. In that temple, the chief servitor was Sri Haridas Pandit. His qualities and fame are known all over the world. Sushil Shahishnu Shanta Vadanna Gambhir Madhur Bachan Madhur Cheshta Mahadir. He was gentle, tolerant, peaceful, magnanimous, grave, sweet in his words and very sober in his endeavor. Shabar Samman Karta Karen Shabar Hit Kautilya Matsarya Himsha Na Jane Tarchit. He was respectful to everyone and worked for the benefit to all. Diplomacy, envy, jealousy were unknown to his heart. Shabar Samman Karta Karen Shabar Hit Kautilya Matsarya Hingsha Na Jane Tarhit Chit. কৃষ্ণের যে সাধারণ সদ্গুণ প্রকাশ 50 সেসব গুণের তার শরীরে নিবাস. the 50 qualities of Lord Krishna were all present in his body. Haridas. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the transcendental qualities of Sri Krishna are mentioned. Among these, 50 are primary. Ayam Neto Shuramangyanaha. And in minute quantity, they were all present in the body of Sri Haridas Pandit. Since every living entity is a part of Supreme Personality of Godhead, all 50 of these good qualities of Sri Krishna are originally, minutely present in every living being. Due to his contact with material nature, these qualities are not visible in the conditioned soul, but when one becomes a purified devotee, they all automatically manifest themselves. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam as mentioned in the next below. Yashyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana svarvai gunastatra samasate suraha hara vaktasya kutamahata guna manorotenashati dhavatavahi. In one who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifested. However, one who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualifications because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. Pandit Gosair Shishya Anantavacharya Krishna Premamaya Tanu Udar Shavarja. Anantacharya was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, and his body was always absorbed in love of Godhead. He was magnanimous and advanced in all respects. Jaha tahar ananta gun ke karu prakash tar priya shishya Pandit Haridas. And Anantacharya was a reservoir of all good qualities. No one can estimate how great he was. Pandit Haridas was his beloved disciple. So Pandit Haridas is the disciple of Ananta Acharya, and Ananta Acharya is the disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. So Chaitanya Nityanande tar param vishwas, Chaitanya charita tar parama ullas. Pandit Haridas had great faith in Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Therefore, he took great satisfaction in knowing about their pastimes and qualities. Vaishnavir gunagrahi nade koya santosh, काय मन वाक्य करे Vaishnav संतोष. He always accepted the good qualities of Vaishnava and never found fault in them. He engaged in his heart and soul only to satisfy the Vaishnavas. It is a qualification of a Vaishnava that he is Adushadarshi. He never sees others' faults. Of course, every human being has both good qualities and faults. Therefore, it is said, Sajjana gunam icchanti dusham icchanti paramaha. Everyone has a combination of faults and glories, but a Vaishnava, a sober man, accepts only a man's glories and not his faults. For fly seeks soars, whereas honeybees seek honey. Haridas Pandit never found fault with a Vaishnava but considered only his good qualities. Nirantar shunate ha Chaitanya Mangal Ahar Prasade Shunen Vaishnava Sakal and all the other Vaishnavas used to hear it by his grace. Katay Shava Ujjal Kare Janapurna Chandra Nij Katna Gunamrite Badai Vaishnavananda. Like the full moon, he illuminated the entire assembly of Vaishnavas by speaking Sri Chaitanya Mangal. And by the nectar of his qualities, he increased their transcendental bliss. Teo ati kripa kari agya koila more, Gaurangir Sheshalila Varnivaratare. By his causeless mercy, he ordered me to write about the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami instructed Vrindavan Das Thakur instructed Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Teho ati kripakari agya koila more. He personally instructed and considered that I am able to do so. So he ordered me, Gaurangir Shesh Lila Bharnivardhare, and you will please write about the last pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kashishwar Gosai Shishya Govinda Gosai Govinder Priya Sevak Tar Shamanai. And Govinda Goswami Gushai, the priest engaged in the service of Lord Govinda in Vrindavan, was the disciple of Kashishwar Goshai. And there was no servant more dear to the Govinda deity. Tar Shama Priya Sevak Nai. Govinder Priya Sevak Tar Shama Nai. यादवाचार्य गोसाई श्री रूपेश संगी चैतन्य चरिते हो अति बड़ा रंगी. Srila Yadavacharya Gosai, a constant associate of Srila Rupa Goswami, was also very enthusiastic in hearing and chanting about Lord Chaitanya's pastime. So Pandit Gosai Shishya Bhugarva Gosai Gaur Katha Bina Ar Moke Vannanai. So Bhugarva Gosai, disciple of Pandit Gosai, who was always engaged in topics regarding Lord Chaitanya, knowing nothing else. Tar Shishya Govinda Pujak Chaitanya Das Mukundananda Chakravarti Premi Krishnadas. Among his disciples were Chaitanya Das, who was a priest of the Govinda deity, as well as Mukundananda Chakravarti and the great devotee Krishnadas. Acharya Gosai Shishya Chakravarti Shivananda Niravadi Tar Chitte Sri Chaitanya Nityananda. Among the disciples of Ananta Acharya was Srivananda Chakravarti, in whose heart Lord Chaitanya Nityananda constantly dwelled. Arjata Vrindavane Bashe Vaishe Bhaktagan Shesh Lile Shunite Shabar Haila Man. In Vrindavan there were also many other great devotees, all of whom desired to hear the last pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Chaitanya. So they all gathered and they all requested and they all desired to hear Chaitanya last pastimes. And they all instructed Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami, you please start this. Moryagga Karila Shave Karuna Karya Tashavar Bole Ki Nirlajja Hoiya. So, by their mercy, all these devotees ordered me to write of the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of their order only, although I am shameless, I have attempted to write this Chaitanya Caritamrita. Vaishnave Raggapaya Chintito Antar Madan Gopale Gela Vaggamagi Bare. Having received the order of the Vaishnavas, but being anxious within my heart, I went to the temple of Madan Mohan in Vrindavan to ask his permission also. So first he got the permission of devotees, all the exalted Vaishnavas there in Vrindavan, and they all instructed and ordered to Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami that you please write the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And with this permission, he is considered himself very shameful and very shy, but still the instruction of Vaishnavas he would do so. So before starting that, he visited Madan Mohan and he is seeking permission to the Madan Mohan also. A Vaishnava always follows the order of Guru and Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has written by Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami. By their mercy, Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami considered all the devotees that have been mentioned to be preceptor gurus or spiritual masters, and Madan Gopal, Sri Madan Mohan Vigraha, is Krishna himself. Thus it took permission from both of them. First is spiritual masters and Madan Mohan Sri Vigraha. And when he received the mercy of both Guru and Krishna, he was able to write this great literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This example should be followed. Anyone who attempts to write about Krishna must first take permission from the spiritual master. Is direct external representative. Thus, Krishna is situated antarvahi, within and without. One must first become a pure devotee by following the strict regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds daily. And when one thinks that he is actually on the Vaishnava platform, he must take permission from the spiritual master And that permission must also be confirmed by Krishna from within his heart. Then, if one is very sincere and pure, he can write transcendental literature, either prose or poetry. Darshan kari kailu charana vandan, Goshai Das Pujari kare charana sevan. When I visited the temple of Madan Mohan, the priest Goshai Das was serving the feet of the Lord, and I also prayed at the lotus feet. Prabhur charane jaddi agga magila, Prabhu kante hoite mala khoshiya padila. And as soon as this happened, the Vaishnavas, when I prayed to the Lord for permission, a garland from his neck immediately slipped down. So you get the blessings for Madan Mohan. So initially you get the blessings from all the devotees and Vaishnava from gurus, and then he visited Madan Mohan to seek the blessings, and then Madan Mohan gave his blessings through his garland. As soon as this happened, Shava Vaishnava Gana Hariddhani Dilo, Goshai Das Animala More Gole Dilo. As soon as this happened, the Vaishnavas standing there all loudly chanted Hari Bol. And the priest Goshai Das brought me the garland and put it around my neck. Aggamala Paya Amar Hoilo Ananda Tahai Karinue Granter Aramba. I was greatly pleased to have the garland signifying the order of the Lord. And there I commenced to write this book. এই গ্রন্থ লেখায় মরে মদন মোহন আমার লিখন যেন সুখের পটন. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita is not my writings, but the dictation of Sri Madan Mohan. So this is like the repetition of a parrot, that Shukir Patan, Sukadev Goswami. This should be the attitude of all devotees. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead recognizes a devotee, he gives him intelligence and dictates how he may go back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Tesham sotata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yugam tam jena mam upajantite. সেই লিখি মদন গোপাল যে লিখায় কাষ্টের পুত্তলি যেন কুহ না চায়. As a wooden doll is made to dance by a magician, I write as Madan Gopal ordered me to do so. Whatever Madan Gopal is making me write, I am just writing it down. I don't have any personal capacity. I like a Kashtir Puttali. Kashtir Puttali means the wooden doll. This Kashtir Puttali Srila Prabhupada also mentioned in his Markine Bhagavad Dharma poem. That Kashtir Puttali Jeno Kuho Kena Chai. Whatever way you make me dance, I will dance. Nachao Prabhu, nachao Shrimate. So this is the position of a pure devotee. One should not take any responsibility of his own, but should be a soul surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who will then give him a dictation of Chaitanya Guru, or the spiritual master within. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased to guide a devotee from within and without. From within, he guides him as the super soul, and from without, he guides him as the spiritual master. Kuladi Devata Mar Madan Mohan Jar Shevak Raghunath Rupa Sanatan. So I accept as my family deity Madan Mohan. So Krsnadas Kaviraj Goswami's family Vigraha is Sri Madan Mohan, whose worshippers are Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Brindavan Dasher Pada Padma Karidan Tar Agga Layali Ki Jahate Kalyan. I took permission from Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur by praying at his lotus feet, and upon receiving his order, I have attempted to write this auspicious literature. Chaitanya Lila te Vyas Vrindavana Das Tar Kripa Vina Vanne Na Hai Prakash. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is the authorized writer on the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Without his mercy, therefore, one cannot describe these pastimes. Murko Nich Khudramoy Vishoya Lalosh Vaishnavagga bole kariyate kosha hosh. I am foolish, low-born and insignificant, and I always desire material enjoyment, yet by the order of the Vaishnavas. I am greatly enthusiastic to write this transcendental literature. Sri Rup Raghunath Charane Reival, Jar Smriti Siddha Hai Vanchita Shakal. The lotus feet of Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Goswami are my source of strength. Remembering their lotus feet can fulfill all one's desires. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Jaro Ash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishnadas. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishnadas narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. So that's the end of Bhaktivedanta purport of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, 8th chapter, in the matter of author receiving the orders of the authorities, Krishna and Guru. So by this permission and authority of Guru and Krishna, Srila Krsnadas Goswami got all the acharyas, all his seniors, and all the Vaishnavas, and that's how it is started by Chaitanya Charitamrita. So thank you all the viewers who have watched me, and by your kind association inspiration I get motivated and I am completed this chapter 8. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakto Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.